So, Steve, you and I have both mentioned a couple of times on the podcast that we both have pet dogs.
We do.
I think you've got a golden doodle, right? An older one.
Golden Doodle, that's right.
And I have just survived relatively recently the puppy stage of owning a whippet, which is a sight hound that likes to run. And
is the puppy stage all it's cracked up to be? Because I adopted my
do you mean
Doodle
terrible? I don't know what you mean by that.
I don't know, 7, 8 years old. And well, some people like the puppy stage because like you get to, they're cute. Puppies are cute.
They're extremely cute.
But you also have to train them and teach them how to go to the bathroom, not in your house.
Yes.
And, and deal with the puppy energy and all of that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think I would super enjoy the puppy stage quite as much, but I'm curious.
Well, the reason they're cute, I've decided, is that's how they survive, right? Probably similar to human babies at a certain point. But because, yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, okay, so disclaimer, I am not a parent of human children, and this is the first time that I have been a dog owner. So this is all very new to me over the last couple of years. And I will say having a puppy, this is embarrassing. It nearly broke me a couple of times.
Oh,
there was one time where like I was on the way home and he peed in the car seat, and I was like, darn it. So I took him inside so I could clean up the mess in the car, and then by the time I'd gotten back inside, he'd peed on my carpet inside. And at that point, it's just been a long day, and anyway, yeah, so there's that. And then like the lack of sleep has some similarities, I suppose, with human children, but it's very compact. Like dogs grow up much faster than humans do. But yeah, training is very challenging. So, but yeah, very cute. So I'd say it is all it's cracked up to be. It was awesome. It was very challenging, very rewarding. Would I do it again? TBD. I might be too old by the time it's time to get another dog to handle that.
How long do whippets normally live?
I've heard 12 to 15 years. So we're just over 2 years in. So
I think it's pretty similar for doodles.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things I've been excited about now that my dog is grown up for the most part is getting him some hobbies, which I'm not a helicopter dog parent. I think like he is spoiled. He's he's like the only other member of my household. So there's a lot of, he gets a lot of attention and interaction, but anyway, he also requires running. Like he is a sight hound. He's a runner. He's a sprinter. He likes to chase things. We play fetch every single day or else my life is miserable because he'll run around the house. Anyway, so I've been looking into sports. I ran into someone who introduced me to a coursing club. Coursing is where you have a lure and dogs chase it around a field. It's perfect for sight hounds. That's kind of what they're bred to do. And so I'm super excited. I talked to the president of this club. I was like, I've got a 2-year-old whippet. Like, do you think we could come out and see how it works and maybe join? And one of the interesting things about it was he's like, oh yeah, it's a great sport because it doesn't require very much training. They're literally just chasing a plastic bag around a field. Attached to a rope in this machine that makes it go really fast. Whippets can run up to 35 miles an hour. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, oh, okay. So we're going to go out in November, go to this event, try it out, see how he does. But I was like kind of curious today. So I was like, it doesn't require much training. He said, you just need to know, some dogs are really into chasing a plastic bag around a field and others are not. And so I got curious and I went and got a grocery bag, a plastic grocery bag, and showed it to my dog, got him kind of stoked, and then started running around the house. And I think he's going to do just fine. He basically destroyed my house, unmade my bed. No. Like he was like so into it. So anyway, that's what happened to me today. And I'm pretty excited. I think, I hope in real life, he's just excited about the plastic bag as he was today. It would be good to give him something to do that's, for him, that's a lot of fun, gets his energy out, be around other dogs, etc.
Cool. We watch a TV show called Secrets of the Zoo, and they have some cheetahs on this show, and they do kind of a similar thing where there's a lure that goes around their exhibit, and they have the cheetahs chase it.
That's awesome. Actually, cheetahs and whippets and greyhounds all have something in common, which is that they share what they call a double suspension gallop, which is part of what makes them so fast. And that just means that all 4 legs are off the ground twice per stride instead of once per stride, like most 4-legged animals. So like when they're fully extended, like
Huh.
on the side of the Greyhound bus, right? They're like Supermaning, flying through the air, no feet are touching the
Yeah.
ground. And then again, when they're contracted, all 4 feet are off the ground. And so there's less friction. So anyway,
Oh, interesting.
you can
Okay.
add that to your Gee Whiz collection.
Yeah. Great. Hello there, dear listener. I'm Steve.
And I'm Tyler, and welcome to another episode of It's Not About the Money, where we discuss our pets and a wide range of topics related to creating and running small businesses.
Tyler and I both run small businesses ourselves, and we are just trying to make sense of this world of business and life, one podcast at a time.
And today we're talking about something that has been on my mind a lot over the last, I'm going to call it 14 years. It's a bold claim, but
Okay.
it's true. And I have it pinned to a date because it comes from a YouTube video that I saw 14 years ago, according to YouTube anyway. It's just kind of an inspirational video where it's got, someone giving a speech and then like inspirational music and like stock footage rolling in the background. But the topic of it is creation and how humans are inherently creative and can have a drive to create. And that's always stuck with me, like all these years. I'm glad the video was still on YouTube so I could find it. But so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today.
All right, let's do it.
So one of the lines from this video that's kind of stuck with me is the speaker claims that the desire to create is one of the deepest yearnings of the human soul. I find that interesting. I don't know how universal that is. That resonates a lot with me, which is why we're talking about this. But I'm curious, do you feel, Steve, that you experience some kind of deep yearning to create?
I think I do, probably because this sounds like something that's rather high up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, yeah.
Which I am fortunate enough to be situated near the top somewhere. I don't know. I haven't.
Would you put it
looked at it for a long
under
time,
self-actualization? Isn't that the top? Like the pinnacle?
Probably. Is that the top one? We should look it up. Let's see. Wikipedia's got a couple versions of it here. We have this one has physiological, safety, belonging and love, esteem, cognitive, aesthetic. That it might be there.
Aesthetic.
Self-actualization, it might be there. Transcendence, it could be there. So yeah,
It
somewhere
could be
in
all
the top.
those, yeah.
And then this other one is simplified: physiological, safety, belonging and love, esteem, which it could go there because that lists feeling of accomplishment, which is a big part of creativity, and then self-actualization.
Yeah.
At the top. Okay. Yeah, so somewhere near the top there.
It's interesting that the topic of creativity made you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's cool.
Yeah, because when I'm like super focused on like the stuff needs to get done so the bills can get paid, the kids need to be in bed, we need dinner to get made, whatever, those kinds of lower level needs, I don't have the mental space to think about, oh, it would be nice to make something. Well, but even then, I suppose.
Ooh, see, this is interesting.
I'm making dinner,
Yeah. You're
like,
making dinner? Yeah. And
sometimes it's just, we're throwing chicken nuggets in the air fryer and that's what you're getting. And sometimes it's, I would like to, let's make some pasta. Let's make something nice here.
So that's not the first time you've mentioned chicken nuggets in the air fryer. And it's really, really making me want to be a member of your household because that sounds
okay,
delightful.
It's, well, yeah, the kids like it. I can't stand them anymore, but...
Maybe pair it with some air fried tater tots. Who knows?
Oh, we should try tater tots. We do fries in the air fryer as well. And those are fine. Tater tots, though, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, let's talk for a second about what it means to create then, because I heard you kind of stop yourself there when you were like, well, when I'm doing these, I don't know, lower order or more higher priority tasks, I don't feel like I have the energy to create. And you're like, but wait a minute. Even those tasks could involve creating something, right? So that's one of the other things I loved about this old video is it kind of lists a bunch of different things that could be considered creative, or the act of creation that maybe you wouldn't normally think of. I don't know about you. When I think of creation, I tend to think of like visual or like the arts in general, right? Writing, painting,
Yeah.
dancing, sculpting, making movies, or creating a podcast, stuff.
Making music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of the things that it lists in the video are improve, beautify, extend, smile, cultivate, and develop. A few kind of synonyms in there. But like I love that there's something as simple as smile, because that's like maybe like a very basic thing. And if you smile at someone, you actually you're creating something. You're creating or improving maybe a relationship if it's someone you know, or like creating a relationship if it's someone you don't know. You're just smiling at a stranger. So no, I think that when I think about creativity or creation, I love thinking about it in like the broadest possible sense. Maybe even so broad that like just by existing, you are creating a different world than the world would be if you didn't exist.
Okay. When you read that list, it made me think of gardening, just not in the sense of like growing flowers or vegetables or like proactive gardening, but like the flower bed needs to get weeded or the lawn needs to be mowed or those kind of things. Like I do feel a sense of accomplishment when they're done, and it's kind of like this is my little patch of the world and I'm going to make it more beautiful. Like that's a form of creation, I suppose.
Yeah. That's cool. Like even the mundane of our lives, like the chores, are linked in some way to this concept of
bringing
creation.
order to the kitchen sink that is full of dishes.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Now the dishes are all clean, or they're
Yes.
stacked in the dishwasher, and the sink is empty. That brings a certain satisfaction to me, anyway. Maybe not everybody's like that, I suppose.
But that's okay because you are, and because you exist, you're creating a better
Right.
world. See?
Yeah.
So, and that I love how you said basically bringing order to chaos or creating out of chaos order.
Yeah.
Because now we can put into this arena of creativity and creation one of my favorite things, which is, organizing my to-do lists. As nerdy as that is.
Yes, which we have talked about.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So another cool thing about what we're talking about here is there's no limit. Like everyone can create something in some way. So it's interesting. The first thought that came to your head was about, this is probably something that's higher up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But I would argue that you don't need like money or position or influence in order to create something of substance or beauty. Although you might need some of those things if you're trying to create like fine art. Sure, fine. I admit that.
Yeah. But we're defining creativity pretty broadly.
Very broadly. Yeah. Yeah. So what are, as we think about this definition of creativity, what are some things that you've created that you are most proud of?
Well, I would say my family is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
High up the list of, just two people that existed separately in the world, and now we are together. And now there are kids, and there's a dog, and a little, and kind of everything that has grown up around that to support the family. My day job, my wife's work, this business, this podcast, all of those kinds of things that at some point, maybe at various times they are in a more creative mode or like an expansion mode, and sometimes they are just in a maintenance mode of like trimming the hedges and pulling the weeds and those kind of just keeping them running. Yeah. One of the things that I get a lot of joy out of creating is playing music or singing, and that's usually not where I wrote the music or came up with it, but just taking like printed music and turning it into the sound of music. There's a lot of expression and intuition that goes into that action that I get a lot of joy out of.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. And in that is another thought related to what we were talking about just a minute ago, which is, does creation have to be something totally original? I don't think so. Like you just said,
I don't think so.
you're recreating or remixing a song that somebody else wrote, but is flowing through your brain, coming out of your mouth or out of your fingertips if you're playing the piano or whatever, right? And so that
Hmm.
is you creating your own perspective on it. That's cool. Love that.
Yeah, exactly. How about you? What are some things you have been proud to have created?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, that's kind of a hard question. And I loved your answers. I would start with music. Also, I play the violin. I've never written a song or anything, but I love participating in symphony orchestras. To me, that's just one of the most
Yeah.
sublime experiences I could possibly imagine. Just being part of a large group of people who create this amazing sound and just being like a cog in the machine. It feels like, right? Just one violinist out of 70 string players or whatever, plus everything else. But that something I really enjoy. I love that. I love doing that. Um, I think I would also answer, similarly. You mentioned one of the things you've created that you love the most or are the most proud of is like your family and everything that's built up around that. And then you started listing other things, right? And it made me
Hmm.
think, like, actually, maybe. Oh, this is gonna sound. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe one of the things that I've participated in the creation of that I'm the most proud of is just like myself. Is that weird to say? Like, I don't like the sum of all of my actions, all my decisions, like all the pursuits that I've had in my life, like have resulted in who I am right now. And of course, it's not just me; it's all the people I've interacted with, my parents who like literally created me. My family, where I was
Hmm.
raised, all that other stuff. But I do believe that I have a say in my life. I have choices. I make choices. I have agency. I've done a lot of things of my own free will and choice in theory. And like all that has led to a state of being, I suppose, that I'm experiencing today. It'll be different tomorrow than it is today, and it's different today than it was yesterday. But like, I'm pretty happy with the person I'm becoming. Is this a little too woo woo? I don't know. But I think I am. And it's like never finished, right? There's lots and lots of rough edges. But I think to me, maybe that's like the ultimate process of creation is choosing or influencing, I guess, who we become. I love that.
Yeah, I love that idea.
And
Uh,
then perhaps more less existential is I love photography. I just had a couple of photos of mine in a public art show recently, actually. So that was kind of
oh,
a new
congratulations.
experience for me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, photography is fun. My mom is really into astrophotography, and
Really?
she'll, yeah.
That's awesome.
So she can talk your ear off about it for hours. She's really into the details, and she's sent me some like really cool photos as well.
Ooh, it sounds like
But I'm
she and
like,
I would
how
get
did you get
along.
this?
That's cool. I haven't gotten much into astrophotography. Obviously, I've tried it because who hasn't? Whoever's bought a camera has definitely tried it, I feel like. But that's
Hmm.
awesome. If she's got expertise in it, it sounds like that's cool.
Yeah, she does. Something you said a minute ago made me think of the idea of community.
Mm.
So you have your family, you have your friends, your coworkers, all the people around you that you have influenced over the years, and part of who they are today is thanks to that influence that you've had on them,
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
And I also like to think of us individually as a community of people
Mm-hmm.
in the past and the future. Like you said, today you're here today, and tomorrow it will be different. And
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now, you'll be, a different person. And we have a hard time imagining our future selves as us today. It's kind of a different person in our mind, but that's also kind of a useful way to think of it. Like the choices I'm making today will influence the reality for Steve 10 years from now.
Yeah. Ooh, that's crazy to think about. Actually, I heard someone say recently that as human beings, we have the ability to run models and simulations for free. They were kind of like drawing an analogy with like computers or supercomputers, right? Where it's like they run these models to predict what might happen in certain like situations. But we do that all the time as human beings.
Right.
And I think that's fascinating.
Consciously and subconsciously. There's one theory of dreams that's what the dreams are, is your brain trying to like play out scenarios and see what it would be like in a safe situation where
I thought you were going to say to see what it'd be like if I could fly, because that is like the ultimate dream for me. But anyway, that doesn't. Yeah. We don't need to get into my dreams here. That is too crazy. But no, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the brain is really good at doing that, and it can go off the rails too if you have like anxiety, for example. It's really easy to catastrophize of like you're projecting out into the future. What could the consequences be? And then like, what are the worst possible things that could happen? And then it feels like it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of power and danger in that, in the way our brain works.
Yeah. And the subconscious, and it's a busy place. One of my favorite books I've read in the past few years is called Why We Sleep. And it also explores, I don't know if it's more, it's not a scientific study. It's like a book. Obviously, it cites a lot of scientific studies, but the author is a sleep expert. And one of the things he kind of explores in that book at a certain part, it's only part of the book, but it's the role of sleep in overcoming our traumatic experiences, and, whether or not some people are prevented from healing from PTSD because of a sleep problem more than anything else. Because in your sleep, your brain allows you, it turns off your fight or flight mechanisms and then allows you to process traumatic experiences in the absence of cortisol, basically. And so you can be like, oh, okay, that happened. I'm fine. My fight or flight is not kicking in, right? But if that mechanism is broken, then that's why you can get like recurring nightmares, right? And you just keep having it over and over again because you're not able to process it in that kind of safe space, like you were saying.
Yeah, fascinating.
That's not really related to creativity, but it's really cool.
No. So. Yeah, we've gone down a few tangents here.
So I'm also curious. I don't know. I feel like both you and I have tried many different things over the years in various areas of life. Can you think of any things that you've been excited about trying to create that, like, in your perspective, like didn't work out, or like, didn't turn out the way you expected, or develop into something that you hoped they would be? I've got a very long list myself, but I'm curious.
I could think of quite a few business ideas that I had that I tried, maybe half-heartedly, maybe with some degree of ambition that ultimately flopped, or didn't have sufficient time and energy to succeed.
Yeah, but you tried, and I think that's cool, because even though they didn't succeed, the attempt is now part of you.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. And sometimes the attempt was just as far as building a spreadsheet to say what's like the addressable market for this idea, and that's too small, it's never going to be worth it, so I'm just going to put the brakes on now. But sometimes it was,
but you learned something.
Yeah, well, that's true. Or I want to try and build this thing, and then I lose motivation or something. But I learned how to do, how to build a blog, how to assemble mailing list infrastructure, things like that.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I just sent you, was it today or yesterday? The craziest thing happened. I apparently had a WordPress blog from 2009 that I only posted 3 times on ever. And I got an email notification today that somebody subscribed. And I was like, wait, what? And I went and I looked at it, and yeah, it was this blog about, of all things, music and my interpretation of my favorite songs. I couldn't believe it. So there's a failed endeavor, but I totally had forgotten about it. But yeah, I've started many blogs, and I'm I thought I deleted them all, but maybe not. Apparently not. Except for my current one, of course.
They're a part of internet history. I mean,
that's right.
That's very of the time.
Yeah.
To make a blog like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it had all the trappings of those early 2000s internet. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
3 posts, right? I probably had like 20 tags. I was like, oh yeah, this one's about music and poetry and classical, and I don't even know. I was like, wow, it was quite hilarious actually. But
Yeah. That was I have fond memories of that era of the internet.
oh, me too.
That was part of the time of my coming of age into young adulthood was kind of right in that time period. So
It was like
influential.
the most interesting thing about it to me from our perspective today is that it was before any kind of social media. And so the internet felt a lot
Yeah.
more like just a network of websites, which I mean technically it still is, right? But and you found things through blog rolls and just linking to your friends' blogs and websites and things, and I don't know, it was a different world. It was cool.
Yeah. A lot less of the walled garden fiefdom kind of ecosystem that we have now.
And a lot fewer content algorithms, if any. I mean, you had the search engines, I guess, but
yeah.
Anyway. Well, now we're reminiscing. Now we sound we're dating ourselves here a little bit.
Yeah.
But,
if you didn't already know how old we are, you can figure it out now.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
did you want to tell me any of your long list of?
Oh well, yeah. I think that blog counts as one. I mean, I think I was really that period of the internet that we were just talking about. I was like really into it. I had a blog about my college experience. I had a blog about my religious faith. I had a secret blog about like my private diary. I had a blog about photography. I had a blog, and this was just like, it was so haphazard and all over the place. Oh, I had a blog that I was writing in Russian because I was studying Russian in college, and man. So yeah, lots of like fun little creative projects. I wouldn't call them failures because I never defined success. I was just enjoying the process of making stuff. So that's another thing I think.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that.
Worth keeping in mind. Yeah. In fact, I just want to mention,
not everything you do has to become a business. You can just do things because you like them.
Well, that can be crippling. There really, once the internet started to get really money driven or monetized, I guess you could say, I felt a lot of pressure. I'm like, oh, this thing that I used to do just for fun. I wrote this blog about my favorite songs that no one is ever going to see. And I was just fine with that. Became, how am I going to do SEO on this blog? How am I going to get people to see this? How am I going to build my email list so I can sell them my whatever? It was this really weird. It messed up the incentives for me in a lot of ways. And I kind of regret some of my reactions to that change because I missed out on a lot of the fun of it, and it paralyzed me and prevented me from just doing things for fun. If I would have kept like one blog, think about it. If I had been blogging since 2009 and never stopped and never really cared about any of that stuff, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what it would look like today, right? So I guess that's the last thing I wanted to share from the video I mentioned that inspired this episode. It's just a little line from it that says, "Don't let the voice of critics paralyze you. You will make the world a better place." And whether that critic is other people or honestly just yourself, like it was for me.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
none of my family, none of my friends have ever had the heart to tell me, wow, this is terrible. Not because it wasn't terrible, probably, but it's always me. I think we're all our own worst critics, and we shouldn't let that stop us from just creating and having a good time.
I like that.
And the more things you try, I think eventually you'll develop an understanding of what your talents are, right? And then you can lean into those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a pretty wide-ranging conversation about creativity, but I think we can leave it there.
Let's leave it there. Thanks, Tyler. That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for listening to It's Definitely Not About the Money. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.